This program contains graphic violence and sexual situations. Viewer discretion is advised. She's the breathtaking beauty who turns heads wherever she goes.
You're stunning.
Dorothy Stratton was one of the most beautiful women to ever breathe.
Her looks catapult her to the pages of Playboy magazine and to a new life amongst the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Dorothy Stratton is on a trajectory to become a huge star.
She was in a whirlwind, she was Playmate of the Year, she was starring in a big movie.
But the young bombshell makes a fatal mistake when she marries the volatile man to whom she feels indebted for her stardom. Possession, jealousy, and rage lead to brutal torture and violent death.
Sex, drugs, and Hollywood all mixed together and ends in the murder of a young girl.
Shocking the Playboy empire and all of Hollywood, and ending the short life of an innocent beauty with everything to live for.
How does this happen?
Meet Paul Snyder.
I'm Paul Snyder.
The Playmate Killer, an obscure husband who harbored terrifying demons.
I think he was probably a sociopath, psychopath, and any other kind of path you could think of.
Until murder made him famous. At age 20, Dorothy Stratton's aura of sexual purity, her fresh talent, and her horrific murder become the subject of sensational stories in newspapers, magazines, and a full-length motion picture.
She was a real person. She didn't act like she was beautiful. She probably had an idea because everybody told her, but she didn't act like that.
She'd walk into a room. It wouldn't have mattered if she was famous, not famous, a Playboy model, a not Playboy model. She pulled complete focus.
Her titillating story in The Village Voice wins the 1981 Pulitzer Prize for Best Feature Writing.
The Dorothy Stratton story is about jealousy, rage, abuse, Hollywood, stardom, and the murder of a young girl.
Dorothy's grisly death by her estranged husband grabs the attention of the world.
It was everywhere. It was on TV. It was everywhere. And all the leeches got a hold of it. And Hollywood scandals, always juicy material. And that became the big one.
You know, when breaking news happens in Hollywood, it's kind of the magnet for all the rats to run forward. So it becomes energy and attraction. And man, she was this Playboy and she was a beautiful girl about ready to be a big star. I mean, this is drama. This is what news and Hollywood and the studios love.
But who would kill Dorothy Stratton, and why? Both Dorothy Stratton and her future husband, Paul Snyder, grow up on the East End of Vancouver, British Columbia.
In the 1970s, the west side of Vancouver was beautiful, but the east side, not so much. It was an industrial area that had a lot of problems with gangs and drugs.
Paul Snyder is a junior high dropout who quickly learns how to hustle and uses his street smarts to make money.
Paul, I'm cold.
Jesus, what do you think, you're a playmate now or something, huh?
Snyder becomes a pimp for East End prostitutes and is given the nickname the Jewish Pimp by an East Vancouver gang. Paul struggles as a pimp and borrows money from local loan sharks and mobsters.
If it wasn't for his personality, I'd say he was insignificant. I think he had to overcome that. That's probably a lot to do with how he behaved. He tried to give himself an aura of power and strength.
Pimping doesn't pay that much, so Paul always owed a lot of money to loan sharks.
Please!
You don't have no money?
No, I don't have it,
Then what good are you?
I will get it, I promise.
At one point, some people that he owed money to held him at a 30-story building until he promised to come up with the money that he owed them.
Please, just one day!
Snyder can't pay off the loan sharks, so he flees to Los Angeles, where his dream is to be a talent manager.
His greatest sin was being small-time, and he was small-time. When he came to Los Angeles, he met the same kind of hustlers, but they were big-time hustlers, and a lot better at it than he was.
All right, you're gonna love Sue, all right? She just got here from Omaha. Omaha, of all places. Never had it before. You know what I'm talking about? You like that? Okay, $50. Well, come on, man, 50. 35. Huh? All right.
Paul Snyder was a creep, unfriendly, sleazy, dirty. Paul Snyder was probably one of the worst people I ever met in my life. Paul Snyder was evil.
In 1960, Dorothy Ruth Stratton is born in Vancouver, Canada.
She came from such a modest background and a broken home and a wonderful mother and a sister and a brother.
When Dorothy was only 4 years old, her father, who was a Dutch immigrant, abandoned the family and failed to support them either emotionally or financially.
I think because she didn't have a father figure and grew up with her mother, somebody that kind of appeared to be taking care of her, I think that she was looking to a person that could help her do those things.
8 years younger and from a different father, little sister Louise idolizes Dorothy.
Dorothy and her mother and sister had a great relationship. They were like three sisters, and there was very healthy interaction between them, and it was fun to be with them all.
Dorothy was really smart, and she did well in high school, and she showed a flair for writing.
Dorothy works at an East End Dairy Queen to earn money for herself and to help support her family.
Around the same time, Paul Snyder left Los Angeles a failure and broke. He returned to Vancouver in search for the next natural beauty that he could make some money off of.
He finds her behind the counter of a Dairy Queen.
I'd like a burger, fries, and a soda. Can I help you?
I should be asking you. Everybody should be asking you. You're the queen.
There's this pure little girl working at the Dairy Queen, right? But just standout, beautiful. Dorothy Stratton was that kind of beauty.
Hey, what's your name?
Dorothy?
I'm Paul Snyder, at your service.
Playboy magazine had launched a new campaign called the Great Playmate Hunt, where pretty girls from around the world would enter for screen tests, prize money, and maybe even a Playboy spread.
That girl can make me a lot of money.
She's got the look.
She's got more than that.
Paul Snyder came into the Dairy Queen and promised her stardom in Hollywood, and I guess she wanted to get out of town and try it. I imagine when he wants to be, he could be convincing. I never saw him like that.
He was going to get her out of the behind the counter Dairy Queen, and so she followed him, you know?
Paul Snyder got Dorothy's number from another waitress, and he called her up and asked her out. Now, Paul was 9 years older than Dorothy, and he was really streetwise, and that was appealing to her.
Hey, I got you something.
You got me something?
Paul gives Dorothy a white ruffled dress.
Paul.
I want you to wear it, so that everyone knows that you're mine.
Paul saw in Dorothy was not only a beautiful woman that he was a Svengali to in his own way, but also that was a meal ticket to him. That was an opportunity for him to have revenue.
Came on like a big con man about, oh, take you to Hollywood, make you a star. He gave her a way out, and she took it.
Dorothy and Paul spend a lot of time at home together.
I remember that Nellie, Dorothy's mother, who I'm very close to, she had her own feelings about Paul.
Dorothy invites Paul to her high school graduation dance, and she wears the white dress that he gave her on one of their first dates.
Apparently, Dorothy's mother intensely disliked Paul and wasn't happy about this relationship, so she kept a very close eye on them both.
She's beautiful.
Yes, she is.
From the moment they met, Paul knew that he wanted to send naked pictures of Dorothy to Playboy. But he also knew that she was innocent and shy, and he was really going to have to work to get that to happen.
Dorothy and Paul's relationship grows stronger, and he starts to build her trust. And all the while, Paul is grooming Dorothy to take naked pictures.
God, you're beautiful.
Stop it.
No, seriously. Girl like you. we should take some photos. Yeah, so we can always remember this moment.
No, Paul.
Yeah, come on. It'll be fun. Ah, yeah, that's it. That's perfect, babe. Yeah, act shy. Yes, I love that. Yeah, now show me some shoulder. Come on. Ah, man. God, yes, babe. Playboy would be so lucky to have you.
The way he got her to do the photographs to begin with, he kind of tricked her into it.
At Dorothy's graduation dance, Paul reportedly hires the photographer to take professional photos of Dorothy, but this time without clothes.
All right, look, babe, she's a friend of mine, and she's another woman, so it's no big deal, all right?
People are gonna see these, Paul.
It's okay. Hey, all right, look, trust me. We don't even know if they're gonna be any good, okay? So let's just try it.
She was not just all of a sudden wanting to do nude photographs.
Good. Look at her. You're doing great, babe. You're doing great. And yeah, look at me. Yeah, beautiful. Oh my God.
I remember that Dorothy didn't really indicate to her mother when she was doing these photographs because Dorothy didn't want Nellie to know.
Because Dorothy is underaged, it's alleged that 26-year-old Paul forges her mother's signature on the Playboy photograph consent forms.
To this day, we're not exactly sure who signed that form. Some people say that it was Paul, and other people say that it was Dorothy's mother. But one thing we know for sure is that Paul was the one who had the most to gain for that permission form to be signed.
As soon as Paul Snyder's nude photographs of Dorothy Stratton land on Playboy founder Hugh Hefner's desk, they know they have Playmate material.
Get her here.
At Hugh Hefner's request, Playboy sends one plane ticket to Dorothy Stratton. Her boyfriend Paul is supportive at first.
I'm so excited for us.
I'm nervous.
Hey, look, you're gonna do fine, okay? You got nothing to worry about, all right? And if you have to do, whatever, I'm not gonna hold it against you, okay? Especially if it's with the right people. Just don't let anyone use you up, though, all right? Like I told you, whatever you need to do, just make sure we get what we need.
Paul, I'm not comfortable.
I'm just saying, this is our ticket, Our moment.
As part of the routine, Dorothy moves into the Playboy mansion and into Hugh Hefner's family.
From the moment that Dorothy arrives in LA, Hugh Hefner takes a special interest in her, but he always maintains that their relationship is strictly business.
We'll have to change your name. It's a little long. But I like Dorothy. You don't need work, really. A few things our stylist will address. Hair color, maybe length. But otherwise, you're stunning. You're gonna be a star, Dorothy. I'm gonna make it so.
There's no reason to believe that she had an affair with Hugh Hefner, but he took advantage of her in other ways.
With Dorothy's boyfriend Paul Snyder back in Vancouver, Hugh Hefner takes the young model under his wing while she adjusts to the LA lifestyle.
She meets a guy who's very successful. He's her boss at work. He's very paternal with her. Paul was so insecure and was so, threatened by anybody with more money or a bigger name or a better car because he didn't know any better.
Soon after she arrived in the Playboy mansion, Dorothy shortened her last name to Stratton. It's one thing to stand out at the Dairy Queen in Vancouver. It's another thing entirely to stand out in the Playboy mansion. And that's what Dorothy did.
Dorothy Stratton starts out as a bunny at the Century City Playboy Club and is given a modeling contract for nude photos and videos.
She did kind of not like when she had to walk around in costumes and stuff at the parties and rabbit ears. I think she was shy.
Back in the 70s and 80s, Playboy had the hottest parties around. Everybody wanted to be invited. There were Hollywood moguls and beautiful women, It was a really sexy vibe and a place that everyone wanted to be.
Oh, I was at the Playboy party last. You were, yeah. And who was there? And Dorothy Stratton was there, and Sammy Slick and Joe Blow. And oh wow, you were hanging with them. It was cool to be around the movers and shakers in Hollywood, so that you probably could get a job, because really what a lot of people are doing is prostituting themselves to get a job, right? Playboy was a nucleus, a mecca for people who wanted to leverage their position and to be there and find the movers and shakers. That was number one.
Dorothy's boyfriend, Paul Snyder, desperately wants to be a mover and shaker in Hollywood.
When Paul comes down from Vancouver, Dorothy takes him to a party at the Playboy Mansion, and he can't wait to meet the magazine mogul who he thinks can make him and Dorothy very rich and very famous.
Let's meet later, okay? I gotta go talk to Jimmy Kahn before it gets too late and he gets distracted.
Of course.
At that same Halloween party, Dorothy gets the attention of Peter Bogdanovich, the Academy Award-winning director of The Last Picture Show.
Peter, how are you? Good. I gotta run, but you know Dorothy, right?
And they can't take their eyes off of each other.
Like Peter, Hugh Hefner sees that there's more to Dorothy than just a pretty face, and helps her find work as an actress. He knows that will help sell more magazines.
Playboy was a big deal then. I've had 2 Playmates of the Year in 2 different movies.
Remember, Marilyn Monroe was the first cover of Playboy magazine, but Marilyn Monroe had this kind of innocence to her, and there's childlike quality to her. The thing about Dorothy, she had the same kind of innocence. What was interesting was the juxtaposition of this kind of va-va-va-boom look, but she was genuinely sweet. She was genuinely thoughtful.
In 1979, Dorothy is crowned Playboy Playmate's August Playmate of the Month. Her boyfriend, Paul Snyder, is excited to see his dream coming to fruition.
No one even knew who Telly Savalas was, can you believe it? Hey, was that the right time I can pass at you?
I don't know.
Oh, God, babe, we got him eating out of our hands. Hey, let's get married.
What?
Yeah, make it official.
Despite objections from friends, family, and Hugh Hefner, Dorothy Stratton married Paul Snyder on June 1st, 1979 in Las Vegas.
Knowing him, he probably blackmailed her, said, you'll lose it if you don't marry me or something. I just wasn't, because I don't believe she married Paul Snyder because she wanted to.
I think he may have been infatuated and tremendously attracted to her sexually. I think she was more like a piece of jewelry to him, that he had her on his arm and thought that it made him a bigger man.
Paul Snyder moves into a townhome with a young single doctor he and Dorothy met at the Playboy Club. Paul, Dorothy, and Dr. Stephen Kushner will share this place that will become a future house of horrors.
Oh, man. This place is pretty groovy, man. I won't be here much, and this split level will give you even more privacy. Dorothy and I dig you, bro. And besides, we're all gonna be skyrocketing anyways, right? Dorothy Stratton is the next Marilyn Monroe.
While Dorothy was capturing the attention of basically everyone, Paul was coming up with all these schemes to make money, including this sex bench that he was going to sell to adult shops in LA.
Hey, man, I didn't know you were a carpenter. Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do, bro. This looks great, Paul. Oh, yeah, it's a different kind of workout. You know what I mean? People actually use these? Oh, yeah, bro, it's the newest rage. Here, I'll show you how to use it. Okay, all right, come around this side.
When you come from the pimp street gangs and deal-making environment, you're not an architect and don't know how to design the house. So you're not even a carpenter, right? So, but he played that role, and his vision was always tacky and small, right?
He was like a creature. He wasn't like a human being.
In a different business venture, Paul Snyder hires male strippers for a new bar concept that will later be called Chippendales.
Oh, man. It'll be just like the Playmates.
Paul would do anything to make money and a name for himself. And according to Bill Sachs, he wanted to do a documentary on male strippers, and he pitched that idea all over Hollywood.
Other people told me he pitched that to them too, but I told them I wasn't interested. Good thing you didn't kill me, huh?
At the same time, Dorothy Stratton lands her first film role in the United States. It's a sci-fi spoof called Galaxina, and she plays the title role.
Man creates the perfect robot in the future, and she goes on a spaceship, drives all the guys crazy. It was a spoof of other sci-fi movies. Dorothy came in, everybody stopped working and stared. I mean, they just looked up. It was like something happened. It was like, whoa, there's a UFO in the room. What? It was like that, and silent. I knew right there before she went into the office that that was Galaxina. So that's what she had around her. She had this aura of somethingness.
During the filming of Galaxina at Paramount Ranch outside of LA, Paul and Dorothy's relationship starts a downward spiral.
We know that Paul Snyder was a big cocaine user, and we also know that Dorothy was starting to lose interest in him. And so it seems like he was becoming really paranoid.
I want to buy a house, babe. Thinking Bel Air, somewhere close to it.
She said, I know it looks strange, but he really loves me and he has me on a pedestal and he'd do anything for me.
It'll be good for us, you know? Huh? Have our own place.
I don't know, Paul. I have so much going on.
Okay, but I don't, all right? And I just want to set our roots, you know, and do more for our business and make sure we're making the right decisions.
But I have an agent and a business manager for all of that.
Okay, but you can't trust those guys.
I think that she was very unhappy about the situation with Paul because she realized he was pressing her to do things she didn't really want to do. But she also felt a sense of obligation because she felt like he had helped take her out of her life in Vancouver that was in the Dairy Queen.
Okay, we make these decisions for ourselves. And us alone, right?
I used to have him kicked off the set when he came because we'd be shooting and suddenly Dorothy would freeze. I mean, she'd just stop in the middle of a sentence. She would freeze. I just saw a person that you couldn't get a word out of, and his stares were laser beams that tried to kill you. She was such a sweetheart. She would probably stick by him and stick with him. And that's where it all went wrong.
Soon after Galaxina wraps, Hugh Hefner names Dorothy Stratton Playboy magazine's 1980 Playmate of the Year.
While hanging around the Playboy Mansion, Dorothy runs into Hollywood director Peter Bogdanovich, who she'd previously met at a party.
Peter?
Dorothy.
How are the movies?
I should ask you, right?
I love acting.
I'm sure the camera loves you.
I don't know about that.
I don't see how it couldn't.
Peter, who is a big thinker, when he met Dorothy, he went, oh my God, this girl's a major star. This could be like Marilyn Monroe. This girl should be doing this. She could be doing a Revlon campaign, not this small-time stuff.
Peter Bogdanovich, the director of such hits as The Last Picture Show and Paper Moon, is casting his upcoming movie called They All Laughed. He's already signed actors John Ritter, Audrey Hepburn, and Colleen Camp. Peter has Dorothy over for a casual read-through of the script.
Paul drops off Dorothy and waits outside. Inside, the chemistry between Peter and Dorothy is undeniable.
Over the coming months, Dorothy and Peter spend more and more time together, developing Dorothy's acting skills.
What happens if one of us dies? Does the one that's left still laugh?
Very good.
Thank you.
I need a cigarette. Want one?
My husband doesn't let me.
My daughters don't let me.
Well, then it'll be our secret.
You want to go for a walk? Maybe go down to the beach?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
According to Peter, he and Dorothy took a walk after one of their many rehearsals, and that's where they shared their first kiss.
Soon after, Dorothy sends Peter a note that reads, "One day since yesterday." This will famously become their love mantra. She signs the note DR, the initials for Dorothy Ruth. Dorothy Stratton is cast in Peter's movie and is required to travel to New York City. Her husband, Paul, worries about being separated from her.
Well, how long are you gonna be gone?
I'll be in New York and then somewhere else, then back again for several weeks.
Well, why don't I go with you, so we can work on our next move when you're not working.
Our next move?
Yeah, we gotta maximize her exposure, babe.
I'll be too tired, Paul. I don't think it's a good idea.
Of course not. Well, I can just look for our house then.
Dorothy was going to go to New York to film a movie, and a real movie with real actors and sets and all of that, directed by her new love interest. The last thing she probably wanted was for her controlling husband to tag along.
Dorothy is on location with Peter for several weeks.
The name of the movie was They All Laughed, and one of Dorothy's co-stars is actress Colleen Camp, and the two women became personal friends.
I think through a relationship with Peter and doing They All Laughed, all of a sudden she was getting a visibility starring in a big movie. She didn't have to do nudity. She was being recognized as an actress. And when you're in the middle of a movie, you're in a fantasy world.
But in real life, Dorothy was still married to Paul, but while he was back in LA, Dorothy's relationship with Peter was beginning to heat up.
Dorothy has her lawyers send separation papers to Paul with the intent of divorcing him. A move that will soon prove to be deadly.
I think that Dorothy didn't have the ability, because she was so fundamentally good, to predict that something could happen to her that happened to her.
Damn it! What's going on, Paul? Dorothy wants a divorce.
What? Why? What's happening?
She's cheating on me, Steve. Probably with the director or Hugh Hefner. Or both.
He had great innate animal instinct, and he knew something was not right. Okay, I gotta check this out. And he did, and he was correct. She was having an affair.
Paul's gut instinct was that Dorothy was having an affair with Peter, so he hired a private investigator to confirm his suspicions. He must have been in a really dark place.
I need proof of their affair so that I can get what's coming to me.
Are you okay, Paul?
Private investigator Mark Goldstein arrives in New York City and takes secret photos of Dorothy and Peter.
She didn't have any perspective on what was happening to her, nor did probably a lot of people around her.
You were right.
She was having an affair, and it blew his mind because he thought he owned her, emotionally and physically.
With the revelation that she was having an affair with Bogdanovich, made him feel like a nobody. Self-doubt creeps in, it grows and it festers. Not healthy.
The week of Dorothy's murder, Paul Snyder buys a 12-gauge Mossberg shotgun.
I like it. It's got power.
I said, Dorothy, you are separated from Paul. But you have to understand, Paul Snyder is capable of killing himself and killing you. I told her this.
While Dorothy is filming in New York, she decides that it's time to settle everything with Paul. Her plan is to give him some money, finalize the divorce, so that she can get married to Peter.
The one thing that he was clinging to was identity and a love, both of which had abandoned his soul. So he wasn't going to let this girl abandon him this time.
Once back in Los Angeles, Dorothy and Paul meet to discuss the future of their pending divorce. Earlier that week, Paul had purchased a shotgun.
I'm going to take care of you.
You're gonna take care of me?
Yes, Paul.
Take care of you, Dorothy. I've always taken care of you. I made you.
You know, Dorothy Stratton was a box of candy. And if you can't have the whole box, nobody else can either. I own her.
Dorothy's 12-year-old sister, Louise, had come to visit. And by this point, Dorothy and Peter were essentially living together. He was divorced and had 2 kids, and he had just asked Dorothy to marry him.
We're going swimming.
I gotta work, but I'm jealous. I don't want you going over there.
Peter cautions Dorothy not to meet with Paul again, but she still believes Paul will grant her the divorce if she pays him.
I'm going to see Paul today and end things, but that needs to stay our secret, okay?
I like Peter.
So she makes the fateful decision to go, telling no one but Louise.
She told her 12-year-old sister that she was going to go over there, but not to tell anybody. Dorothy said, I'll be there like an hour.
Dorothy arrives at the townhouse she once shared with Paul Snyder and a roommate. She is hoping to finalize the divorce by offering Snyder $7,500, half of her assets after taxes. She has $1,000 in cash in her purse.
You're my wife, Dorothy.
I'm not happy here anymore, Paul.
Happy? Do you think I've been happy watching all these guys hang over you?
This wasn't even my idea. This was your idea, Paul. I didn't want this.
My idea? My idea? What, to get you out of poverty? Huh? To rescue you from a pathetic, stupid, fatherless home in the middle of nowhere so that I could try to give you the life that you deserve?
I just can't do this.
Men sometimes don't know how to handle crisis and anger management. There's mental abuse and physical abuse. Both are painful. Mental abuse is horrendous.
I need my freedom. I have money for you, Paul.
Paul's private investigator, Mark Goldstein, is standing by. And other than Dorothy's 12-year-old sister, Louise, Mark is the only other person who knows that this meeting is going to take place.
Mark knows Paul can be volatile and that he has a gun. So he calls to make sure everything is going well.
Hello? Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's great. I'll talk to you later.
Paul. Paul.
Come get your stuff, Dorothy.
I don't want it.
I don't either, Dorothy.
Over the course of an ordeal that may have lasted as long as 2 hours, Dorothy is strapped to Snyder's sex bench and is raped and tortured.
Please. Oh, please, please. Please don't, please. Please, please, please.
Gonna release me. Do you understand?
Please. I did what she asked me to do. Please don't do this. Please don't. You love me.
Her cries go unheard. Unaware of her plight, Peter Bogdanovich starts to edit They All Laughed, the movie he recently directed with Dorothy in a featured role.
Peter had no idea of the horrors that his love was going through at that very moment. Sometime during the ordeal, she was unstrapped from the bench, but the torture continued.
Where do you think you're going?
You're not the only one who loves me, Paul.
Snyder brutally kills America's favorite centerfold with his 12-gauge shotgun, but he isn't done yet. Police reports indicate that Paul possibly sodomized Dorothy after she was killed.
If the sodomy was after he killed her, that's a vengeful act, a sadistic, vengeful act full of rage, in my naive opinion.
Paul Snyder then turns the gun on himself. When Paul's roommate gets home, he knows nothing of the slaughter that's gone on in Paul's room.
Hello?
This is Mark Goldstein. I know it's late. Can you check on Paul for me?
Paul! Okay. Hey, Paul, are you in there? Paul. Paul.
So the roommate didn't hear anything until he opened the door many hours later.
The police investigation revealed that Dorothy had been tortured, raped, shot in the face, and sodomized.
When Hugh Hefner gets the tragic news, he calls Peter Bogdanovich to console him.
Hello.
Peter, it's Hugh.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, God. Haven't you heard?
What's the matter? Is Dorothy with you?
Hugh Hefner assumes Peter knows about Dorothy's murder. He doesn't. details come out from the crime scene.
Police find $1,100 in cash in Dorothy's purse, but that's probably not enough to buy a divorce from the man who she'd met just 3 years earlier in a Vancouver Dairy Queen.
The murder of Playmate of the Year Dorothy Stratton makes headlines across the globe.
Everyone was in shock. The whole Playboy family was in shock. The whole Bogdanovich clan was in shock. She had just become Playmate of the Year. It was staggering.
Nobody saw this coming. Nobody could have predicted that this beautiful woman was going to be brutally murdered in this way. And one of the people who was the most shocked was Hugh Hefner.
The funeral at a Los Angeles cemetery is private and brief.
I couldn't believe it. It wasn't real. It wasn't true. It's impossible. It's crazy. And I don't know if it's even sunk in yet.
Dorothy's first American movie, Galaxina, opened the day she was murdered. But the distributors pulled it from theaters and waited 3 months to re-release it.
Bogdanovich complained they were taking advantage of her death. And they did it was because people wanted to see it. You can't really blame the business people. You can blame human nature.
To this day, many of Dorothy's friends and family regret not seeing the warning signs of Paul Snyder's violent tendencies.
In 1981, actor Larry Wilcox of the popular Chips TV show produces the NBC made-for-TV movie Death of a Centerfold, with Jamie Lee Curtis playing Dorothy Stratton. Larry Wilcox has a personal connection to Dorothy's story. His own sister was also a victim of spousal murder. Wilcox says he would tell Paul one thing if he could.
You big, dumb bullies that are hurting females. I mean, I don't care what she does, cheats on you, messes around with your best friend, just don't go there. Remove yourself and go and grieve, because it does warrant grieving.
In 1983, director Bob Fosse made the film Star 80. The title referred to the vanity plates on Paul Snyder's Mercedes, and 80 was the year that Dorothy Stratton was Playmate of the Year.
In Star 80, actress Mariel Hemingway portrays Dorothy, and Eric Roberts, brother of actress Julia Roberts, plays her killer, Paul Snyder.
I was very unhappy making that movie because I knew the ending, and I knew there was no hope.
Eric Roberts' portrayal of Paul Snyder earns praise from critics, and he speculates today on what went wrong in Snyder's life.
I don't feel sorry for Paul Snyder, but obviously he was never loved properly, obviously. He didn't know how to love properly. And you only learn how to love and how to give through people who love you and or give to you. Then you learn how to give it back.
Peter Bogdanovich pays for Dorothy's gravestone. The inscription is a quote from Hemingway's famous novel, A Farewell to Arms.
I think that he's never, ever gotten over it. And I think that he feels a lot of personal guilt.
8 years after the murder, Peter Bogdanovich marries Louise Stratton, Dorothy's younger sister. Peter is 49, Louise is 20. They divorce in 2001 and remain close friends.
Dorothy had this aura. I think a lot of it had to do with that she was real. She had a nice laugh, and that came through in her photographs. Her inner reality, real person in her that came through.
You know, Dorothy, in the fact that she ended up a martyr, is much more heralded than she would have been otherwise, probably.
I think that what I would say to her is that her legacy has created such goodness and growth in others. Your contribution to the planet was a great one, and thanks to you living, I've become a better person, and anyone else that knew you has. She will always be in my spirit and my heart, and I've never felt without her presence.